Last week, some members of parliament did complain that some folks were taking advantage of them, of their SIM cards, of their money, for that matter. But of course, the story is all over the place because these are MPs. I would like to think that many folks out there have suffered a similar thing. So this morning, we want to just try and dig in and find out what's happening and how can this be remedied. My guest, who was a victim, the Honorable Mwine Mpala. He's Youth MP Western. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Good. This is your first time in Parliament. How are you finding it?
Well, it has been challenging.
Has it been challenging?
Yes, it has been challenging.
You people are okay. What do you mean challenging?
We have handled several contentious issues, but we have lived through it.
Are you coming back in is it 2021 or 2023? No, you people decided that you want to be around forever because you're good leaders, so you want to rule for... you want to extend your term to even 20 years.
I think we'll leave that to the courts of law, but tentatively it's 2023.
You have really eaten things. Anyway, as you're eating things, other people are eating your things too.
Yes.
Tell me about what happened to you.
Well, there are three different ways SIM cards can be hacked or cloned. The first one is...
I'll first hear your story, then we can get to the different ways.
Okay.
What exactly happened to you?
What happened to me was my SIM card was replaced, according to security, on 12th, and I was not even in the country. So I am wondering how this SIM card was replaced, because I believe to replace you need a national ID and you need to fill a certain form. So I think this is an inside job of probably one of the people of this telecommunication company. This is MTN, and someone from the outside. So my SIM card was replaced. Of course, it took me some time to realize.
At the time, your phone was off, obviously.
Yes, I was in transit. I was coming back to Uganda. I was actually using WhatsApp because you use Wi-Fi, but probably you can't call. So when it was replaced, I didn't detect it immediately, because I was still using WhatsApp. So in that process, they were sending people text messages. But these people do not have access to your phone book, so they need people to call them, and those are the people they send to messages. Now, to get a larger access to my contacts, he has to hack the WhatsApp. So within a period of about 30 minutes, my WhatsApp was asking me to verify my number. And this is the WhatsApp I was using at that particular time. So I tried to verify my number. It could not, I could not receive the message. So I pulled out the SIM card, put back the SIM card, and it was now telling me I can only make emergency phone calls. So immediately it got to me, because it had happened to a colleague in Parliament in 2017. So I started suspecting. So when I reached Uganda, everyone was telling me how I was sending them messages requesting for money, 980,000. Some people sent 2 million shillings to these people. So I immediately went to the nearest MTN center, that is Victoria Mall, and I asked them what had happened to my SIM card. They told me, you replaced it on 12th, but I was not in the country, so I could not replace it. So what I did, I deactivated it and replaced it again. So on restoring my WhatsApp, I actually found myself on various WhatsApp groups, cabinet groups, and my profile picture had changed. I was now a minister. They had used the profile picture of Minister for Agriculture, Chibanzanga. So I think that's how they accessed the cabinet groups, but all this happened because of a swap. So
these guys hacked and somehow were able to now begin to use your SIM card. You say you spoke to MTN. What reason are they giving for this? Because replacement of line, but then you could still be able to use it.
Well, no, MTN I've sued MTN. This is a very big problem, not only to me, but also to other Ugandans. When we raised it on the floor of Parliament, we actually realized there were much more people who were affected by this. Several members of Parliament came out and said, yeah, it happened to me, but I didn't take the interest. And several people have been approaching me, telling me it also happened to them. Actually, they have robbed their businesses through this same process. So we have taken MTN to court. We are going to sue it. And we have also requested the Minister for ICT to come up with a statement. Because as soon as we arrived at the airport, we drove, about 7 members of Parliament. We drove and met the UCC Director, Mutabazi. And he actually confirmed to us that their software and technology is at the same level as this telecommunication company. This is MTN, Airtel, and the rest. which means they cannot even regulate these companies because they are the same level. It's like telling a P6 student to educate a fellow P6 student. It is very difficult. They're almost at the same level.
So what excuse is UCC giving for that? Is it lack of funds?
They are saying they lack funds from the ministry.
Which you people appropriate?
Yes, but we didn't know this. If this is true, the minister should come up with a statement if they need funds, because Ugandans cannot lose money at this expense.
Well, of course, MTN is not here to defend themselves, so we will speak from your perspective of things. This used to happen quite a bit on email. People would hack other people's mails and then begin to send out messages. I am stuck in this place and so on, send me money and that kind of thing. But now we're beginning to see this too. Was your mobile money affected as well?
No, it was not. I think the people who did this are incompetent. I think their interest was just the quick cash. But in the near future, we could get even more senior or superior hackers who can do much more damage than this. For example, in the investigation, we discovered it is true. They can actually clone your SIM card.
Wow, and so there can be 2 SIM cards in operation? 2
SIM cards in operation. You see, a SIM card has 2 major details. That is the IK, the authentication key, and IMSI, International Mobile SIM Card Identity. So all this person needs to do is get your SIM card, hold it for about 15 minutes. Put it in a card reader, insert it into a computer. There's software they download from eBay. It's called Magic SIM. Now, what Magic SIM actually does, it copies data and hacks the authentication key. So after hacking the authentication key, it hacks and copies the data onto the computer. Then there's another software they download called SIM card reader. Now, you insert an empty SIM card in the card reader and save this data on that empty SIM card. So now you have 2 SIM cards. The only thing they cannot do is receive calls at the same time. However,
so if I place a call, who receives it then?
He can receive it. He can also receive it, but they cannot receive the calls at the same time.
What I'm trying to understand, so let's imagine there's 2 of them that are in operation. Yes. I place a call to that number. Yes. Where does it go to? Is it the original or the cloned one?
Both numbers are going to receive that call, but they cannot pick at the same time.
The first one to pick?
The first one to pick is the one going to talk. However, the question is what kind of SIM card can be hacked? There are 3 algorithms of SIM cards we're using in the world. The first
I can see you've done research on this.
Yes, now because that it's very serious. The first algorithm is Comp 128 version 1, Comp 128 version 2, Comp 128 version 3.
What does that mean to my ordinary viewer?
Well, okay, let's assume it's a type of SIM card. But unfortunately, 70% of Ugandans are using version Comp 128 version 1. And this is the SIM card that can actually be hacked and cloned. So I think that the 30% of Ugandans probably are these big people. I thought I was also a big person, but it seems there are other big people who have this kind of SIM card. So it's true, your SIM card can be cloned. And the only way you can detect it is by getting a printout of your calls. And because this person will have access to your mobile data, he will have access to your email, he'll have access to everything. He's practically seeing what you're doing. Yeah.
You initially at the start wanted to talk to us about the 3 ways this happened. First one, yes, you said hacking. Then
the first one is hacking. Cloning. The second is cloning. The third is they use South African numbers. But this one works, rarely works, but they use South African and Kenyan numbers. The country code is different, but the number is the same. So to someone who is not cautious, you can actually think, yeah, this is my number, and someone can send this money. But that is a rare method. It rarely works. But the one for cloning and replacing of SIM cards, it is actually affecting many Ugandans.
Is it particular networks or is it across?
No, so far we have registered cases with Airtel and MTN.
So how are you guys following this up? Besides going to court, you are leaders, and now if this is happening to you folks, and if we should be running to you for, I don't know, regulation, to if UCC is saying they need more money, again, that falls in your people's docket as members of parliament, what do we do?
Yes, now all we need is a statement from the minister, and thereon we shall take a decision. First of all, these mobile money, these networks actually are not regulated. For example, I'm being told Airtel is lending out money. I don't know who is regulating this money. Is it Bank of Uganda? Are these people money
lending on mobile money?
Yes, no, they're actually lending people money on phone. So we don't know who is regulating these people. Mobile money itself, there's no law governing this whole process. We need to come up with a bill to create a law to regulate these people. So there's so much. I think this is going to open the eyes of not only Parliament but also the citizens of Uganda that actually this mobile phone can be also a very dangerous tool to a person.
So there's no law, there's no nothing. In the meantime, we are on our own.
Yeah, in the meantime, we're on our own. We are but as soon as the minister presents his statement, we shall pick from there. Because according to the UCC director, they have been denied money several times to buy equipment, to buy software, not only to regulate, but also to upgrade to a larger, to a higher standard than these telecommunication companies. Do
you think, and we talked a bit, but not expansively about this, do you get to see an insider job? And did you address MTN on that particular? Are they saying they're going to give you feedback because you're saying you're taking them to court? Because
we served them with a notice of intention to sue. They have been given 4 days to respond, and thereafter we shall take them to court.
Wow, some will say these are problems of development. I don't know if they are. Others will say these are challenges of youth unemployment. You are a youth MP, and there's many things that young people are trying to do to survive. Many things which are not right. I don't know if you have lost a phone before. Everyone I know has lost a phone. Have you?
Yeah, I've lost a phone actually, and a very small kid snatched it from me.
There you are. And so increasingly we are seeing these things happening. And some will say, well, it's because of moral turpitude, that our moral fiber has been eaten to the core. And so morality has been thrown out the window. So people do whatever it is that they can to get money. Others will say it's because when you look at the bulk of our young people, a section of which you represent as Youth MP, they are unemployed and yet they have got to survive. They are here true. And they are going nowhere. They have no job, they have no source of income, and yet they have got to eat, they have got to sleep somehow, they have got to survive, and then we get to see these different things. Do you see a connection?
Yes, it is true, but you need to know unemployment is not is not affecting Uganda only. This is
for us, we are concerned about Uganda.
Yes,
because if my neighbor's children are going hungry, I shouldn't be comforted that after all, yes, even my neighbor's kids are hungry. I should be concerned about mine.
Yes, but the government is trying its best, and we as leaders, we are trying our best. We have come up with several bills. We're waiting to present them on the floor of Parliament. Some have actually already been presented.
What bills are those, and how are they going to tackle youth unemployment? Because I would like to think that sometimes, and we need to deal with these fraud things, yeah. Because anyway, even if society does develop, we achieve this middle income thing in 2020, which I don't believe is going to happen anyway in 2020. But eventually, I mean, there will always be people that will try and break the rules and go side them. But sometimes you're thinking, okay, can we address some of the challenges? So you talk about the bills.
Yeah, but before you even talk about unemployment, you need to know the types of unemployment. The structural unemployment, the friction unemployment, season unemployment, and cyclical unemployment. So you cannot just come up with something to deal with all of them at the same time. Structural unemployment, this is where the skills this person has attained, maybe from the university, do not match the skills demanded in the market. Now, this one we're trying to tackle it with the graduate scheme bill, because you are aware our education system has failed to equip the young people with the relevant skills, knowledge, and cultural values to deal with the after-school life. So our intention is for government to deploy the graduates to any institution. It could be a public institution, a private institution, but they're going to give them a stipend allowance. Then we have a labor export fund. According to the Uganda Investment Authority, we are releasing over 400,000 graduates per year. But according to the Uganda
400,000.
400,000. According to Uganda Investment Authority, we can only employ less than half. On a conservative estimation, we can only employ about 150,000. So actually, within Uganda, we have no jobs. Now, we're looking at a labor export fund. We have the livelihood, but it's helping groups. Now, if we can have government helping these young people go abroad for labor.
These ones that go abroad and become sex slaves and become abused, and some of them come back in body bags.
But those are not doing professional jobs. They're just going to sweep. Those are going to clean. That is the difference. So if we can have government for example, China is taking a lot from us. So what are we benefiting from China? We need to ask them to employ our people, not only as cleaners, but as professionals. So if government can take our people abroad as professionals, and probably on a kind of loan agreement. So the first salary is deducted from them, and another young person can go. It will be kind of a revolving fund. We're trying to come up with a youth development bank. We had challenges. It was supposed to be put on the floor of Parliament last year, but we had the contentious issues of the age limit and the rest, so we withdrew a bit. Now we have decided to kind of modify it. We're going to amend the Uganda Development Bank Act, because if you create a bank on its own, it's going to have a lot of financial implication. So we're going to come up with a bill. It's supposed to be on the floor this week, hopefully, if we do not go for recess. But it's supposed to be on the floor this week, so that we amend this act to create a section, because there are some young people with the security to borrow this money at a cheaper interest rate, but they don't have where to borrow. Besides, the young people are the majority in this country. So why don't we have a share, a gazetted share of the money in Uganda Development Bank? So we are doing our best. Livelihood is there. It has challenges. We're going to review this program on 28th of this month. Hopefully it finds solutions to make it a better program. Capital Venture Fund is in the bank. So we are trying our best, but we also have a very large population. So it may not be as simple. And even if we attain results, it may not be recognized as quick as you think.
Do you have timelines, some tangible, plausible timelines to these things? And we seem to be digressing, but that's okay, because again, tethered to this whole SIM card fraud, one can say is this, but since you also represent young people, it would be good for them to hear what's happening. Because you see, there can be amazing plans, and these sound like amazing plans, but then the people before you talked even better things. I hosted some of them before you go to Parliament, and they were spewing out all these amazing things. Their time ran out, and we forgot about all these different things, even the ones before them. You know, there was a guy called Simon Muyomba. Is he an MP now? Was youth MP, I think, 2006, 2011. And you see, there has been several people that come, and amazing plans are normally in place, and they dissipate each time.
I think the challenge with Uganda is implementation. Yes, we have the ideas, but we are not the people who implement these programs. For example, Livelihood Fund is having challenges. You are
regulators in a way.
Yes, for example, we could create a law, or we could create a bill, but we are not going to be the same people to follow up on the implementation. These things are handled by ministries. So you may find we're actually doing our jobs, but somewhere in the system, we also have challenges in the implementation.
I don't know if that exculpates you in a way, and I'm not being too hard on you as MPs, but then at the end of the day, you appropriate money. So if that money is not well utilized, you cannot say, these people have not utilized that money well. Heads should roll. Somebody's head should be on the chopping block.
I'm going to give you an example of the Youth Livelihood Program. Even now, I'm on the Gender Committee. We have given these people more money. And but you cannot say, let's totally remove it, because so far, this has been, even with these challenges, it has been the most successful program we as young people have ever been given in this country. So even with those challenges, you cannot just say, let's remove it. No, but you must look for a way of trying to sort it out, trying to make it a better program. And this is why we're having a review at the end of this month on 28th to try. But you cannot say, okay, now let's stop. And because people are going to get affected, people are going to lose jobs. There's a lot of money in these banks. Who is going to collect this interest, as it is seated waiting for us to sort ourselves? So I think it is a process. It's not something you just wake up and say, no, this is not being done well, let's stop. Because it's going to have a lot of financial implication.
When you meet young people, and I want to believe that you do every so often, what do they tell you? What do they tell you they're grappling with, that they want you to fix? I know some will tell you, of course, for example, what we are discussing about SIM card fraud, but excuse me, several other issues that are affecting young people. What do you hear from them?
I think we are having, besides unemployment, we have several challenges now. For example, lack of confidence. Even these young people...
Confidence to do what exactly?
You see, it's now believed that it is no longer what you know, but who you know. So all the young people approach us to help them connect them to this. It's no longer about merit. I have the degree, I'm going to get this job. So almost 80% of the phone calls we receive, I want you to help me connect me to this and this person. So because they believe we have the capacity to do something like that. So I think the major challenge is probably
The youth don't have confidence in themselves that they can approach certain
They no longer
offices.
have confidence. Not
Do
only
you blame them
themselves,
for that? Because perhaps when they see certain people are in certain positions and they'll even get to tell them, for me, so and so pushed me there in and that kind of thing. So when they look at the structure and there's not many people that are in places or positions on merit. It's not entirely a meritocracy where people are hired necessarily on merit. There's many people that have been hired on merit, but there's many loopholes.
yes,
as well.
but this is something that is not a secret. It's happening even here. I'm sure it is there somewhere. So for what we tell them...
Are you sure about what you say?
I think it is there.
You think?
I'm
I'm glad
sure.
you have amended and said you think. Because we were going to sue you. Now that you're suing MDN, you are going to have many court battles.
So, but anyway, the advice we give them is to position themselves. Because I normally give them an example of a bar. If a young boy is in a bar and the girl is at the counter, and the girl walks out in the morning and the boy also walks out, he's not going to say the girl is arrogant. He must position himself for the girl to see that person.
What happens if he positions himself and they slap the man in the face?
No, but at least
and this is
know
life slapping them in the face.
They will
Look,
know
you're
he
not
exists.
qualified
No,
enough.
no.
You have a degree, but so do many other people.
At least,
or you're overqualified, or look,
at least
you know,
they
don't
will
have jobs.
At least they will know he exists. For example, we have things that are given to us at the sub-county level from the government, but these are few because we don't have enough resources as a country. So who gets these things? That's the question. It is those people who position themselves well to get these things. So whenever someone calls me that kind of idea, I tell them, no, position yourself. I'll do what I can, but please position yourself.
Well, I know we called you to talk about SIM card registration, and it's still pretty much the topical issue. But it's good you're saying you've gone to court, and so we are waiting to hear what does happen. But we can talk a bit about a few other things aside from this.
Yes.
You're a young person, you're a leader. There's many young people that feel they've been shortchanged. You know, they were told, you see your leaders of tomorrow when they were in primary school. They're still hearing the same thing today. Have young people come of age? And if so, are they, I don't know, there's a question of positioning themselves like you are saying. Some imagine things will be given to them on a silver platter. Others will say we are trying, but it's just convoluted for a young person to get therein.
Yes, I think the young people have come of age. When you look at our parliament, for example, I think 60% are below the age of 40 years. It is, you know, the secret to change is not in fighting the old, but in building the new. Currently, our parliament is filled with young people. When you look at the Parliamentary Forum on Youth Affairs, actually there are people who are younger than the youth MPs in parliament right now. We have about 12 members who are younger than the youth MPs. So, yes, actually, young people are taking their space, although they demand more than, and they want it to go at a faster rate than it is doing. But I think, yeah, it is true, young people are taking their space.
And are they serving the interests of young people? Because sometimes people look at young people in positions of influence and they're thinking, but whose interests is this guy serving? They seem to be being roughshod over by the older folk, and so they'll keep pushing interests, not so much of the young people, but of the older folks, and perhaps because it benefits them. They know which side of their bread is buttered, and so they'll keep doing that. It
depends. That's an intrusive question. It depends on which kind of category you're talking about. For example, if you're talking about young people in parliament, we have what we call multi-party system, and under that system we have collective responsibility. So it's no longer, I cannot just come up and say, no, the young people have said this. If the party has decided, for example, that let's take this direction, we must take that direction.
Do you represent your party in parliament? Do you represent the youth of Western Uganda?
Yes, but they voted me as a member of that party.
So who comes number one? Ultimately, when you are, you know, presenting issues on the floor of parliament, the four cardinal roles of an MP, which I believe you know. Some of your colleagues don't, by the way.
Yes.
I've hosted some of them here, and they could only name two. But you, I want to believe you do. So when you're pushing through those four cardinal roles of an MP, is it NRM that you have number one on your agenda? Is it the young people?
Of course, first it is the young people, but at the same time, so it is a yes and no question. We must serve the interests of the party. And
you talked about that we cannot I'm trying to paraphrase how you said it. You seem to insinuate that young people are just, on an agenda to push the old out. Are the old preparing the young? Because we again cannot throw them out entirely. We need their wisdom. We need to tap from them. But are young people being prepared, you feel? Who is mentoring the young people? Are they being mentored right? Because many times what I see, especially on the political scene, it is the older guard literally using the young people, whether it be to use them to push their own agendas. Well, you can even talk about, away from your party, the other political parties, It is the young people that will be pushed to the streets and so on, very much within their rights, But across, you seem to see the older folk literally use the young people. And I keep thinking, what's in it for these young ones?
The young people that are being used actually get benefiting. Maybe probably they have given money for these things. But the problem still goes back to unemployment, because you're not going to get someone from a job and tell him to go to the street to strike. I don't think he's going to do that. So most of the people being used are actually a result of unemployment in Uganda. And we're hoping we do not go the Arab Spring way. That's why we're trying to do our best to come up with solutions for this problem as soon as possible.
And are those solutions coming through? Because again, you will have good plans, and your plans sound good. But then many times, and the reason why the citizenry generally get frustrated, they will feel, wait a minute, we do not see this thing coming. We have been told it's coming, it's coming, it's coming, and it has been coming, and coming becomes months, becomes years. Yeah. With no end in sight.
Well, yes, I believe we will get there, but like I said, we have the youngest population in this world, and even if we achieve or attain a certain level of results, it will be very hard for us to come out and show it to the people, because our population is very high. All I can promise is we as members of parliament, not only youth MPs, because also the other members of parliament representing these young people in their constituencies, we're going to do our best in this 10th parliament. Hopefully, we cannot promise, but hopefully we shall achieve at least to reduce the level of unemployment.
You have been in parliament for what, a year and
a half, almost 2 years.
Year and a half. What red card would you give yourself if it was a report card that you're taking back to your quote-unquote parents, the young people who sent you to parliament? How do you think you have fared? I know 1.5 years is too short a time, but again, it's plenty of time to should have done something, for you to should have done something.
Well, yes, 1.5 years is a very short time, but I think not only as me, as a 10th parliament, I think we have in as far as youth issues are concerned, we have scored probably about 5 out of 10 so far.
Talk to me about that, because that's average. That's 50%. So you
yeah,
have
but it's
passed,
just
so
1 year and a half. You don't expect everything to happen in 1 year.
No, I'm actually not disagreeing. I just wanted to justify that 50%.
Yes, for example, Capital Venture Fund, this money has been put in the banks. These young people can borrow. We're trying to lobby for more money for youth livelihood program. We're going to review the YLP. The green job issue has also been started by the ministry. But we as members of parliament, we're also coming up with those bills, the Youth Development Bank bill, the Labour Export bill, the Graduate Scheme bill. So I think we are trying. And these bills are not easy to present on the floor of parliament, because for you to bring a bill as a private member, it's like serving a certificate of incompetence to the relevant ministry. It's like they could not do it, so you're the one doing it. So we have a lot of challenges on the floor. These people actually do their best to make sure we do not succeed, because we are going to end up sending this bill to their ministry. These people do not like this bill, and they have to implement it. Probably they do not even have the resources. So a private member's bill, for someone to bring even one private member's bill, it is very difficult. Should he succeed, really know that he has tried and he has actually done his best.
These bills that are all over the place, and look, it's good to have legislation in place, yeah? But at the end of the day, when the rubber hits the road, do we see resultant action? Because you can have all these different amazing bills. You see, in this country, we are not short of good laws. I'm a law student, so I know. I look at laws, and they look amazing. But I juxtapose that against the image of what is on ground, and I'm thinking, where are these good laws, and how are they biting, if at all? So do you think that, you know, with the more different bills in place and so on, things are actually going to change? Or maybe we need to change strategy to what? I don't know. But sometimes you want to rethink, because when you keep doing the same thing over and over again, but resultantly there is not much, maybe you should rethink.
No, actually, the bills, everywhere you go, when you go to every African country, they actually appreciate our ideas, they appreciate our laws, and they all come to Uganda to benchmark. But the largest challenge is implementation. So I think if we are to do anything in as far as saving this country, is to work more on who implements and how this implementation is done and how the follow-up is done. I think that's all. But everyone in every country, especially in Africa, admires. Even in Rwanda, people are taking our ideas to Rwanda and they're implementing them better than we are doing. So we as members of parliament, we don't implement. It is the ministries and the local governments implementing these things.
You supervise, you give oversight.
We give oversight and we are trying our best, but don't expect us again now. I bring a bill, a labor export, I go again and select the people traveling, for example. I am the one. No. So the challenges are there, but what I could say is you should not only look at parliament, you should also look at the organs implementing these things.
You talked about all these funds, Youth Venture Capital Fund, Youth Livelihood Fund. We have had a plethora of them in the past. Do we really ameliorate the young people? Do we help them with handouts? Or perhaps we should be thinking about a hand up, and that can be more structural, more encompassing. You know, because when you are to look, and it's good you say there are challenges with these funds in place, when you're going to dole out money to young people, that's why many of them now are being looked for to be arrested. Because they were given money, they've taken it for, I don't know, alcoholism and all these different things, because we're just giving them money. Do we solve a problem when we just dole out these monies to these young people, or we need to do something else altogether?
No, I think we could solve a problem, but for example, Livelihood Fund, the challenge is it was politicized too much. So actually young people thought this money was given to them for free, or like an election benefit or something. So because the time it came in, we were almost moving into elections. And everyone was saying the government, the president has given you this, so it was politicized too much. And actually, that's one of the challenges we are having. These youth did not undergo trainings. For example, I said I wanted to start a piggery or a chicken farm, and they did not even train me on how to look after these things. I would just submit a proposal, yes, and I'm given money. So these are the challenges we want to look at. And the only way these government programs can succeed, yes, a ministry intends to explicitly and implicitly serve the ruling government, but they should avoid politicizing, because they are serving the country. So when some of these things are politicized, even in parliament, some of us politicize these things. So these are the challenges we're having with government programs.
Who is mentoring young people? I keep thinking about that, because you see, many times you become solid or otherwise because of who is holding your hand. So I look at young people in this country, they are the majority, and I'm wondering, who is mentoring these young people and how are they mentoring them? Who mentors you, for example?
Mentoring to do what? Leadership, to...
Across the board, because young people want to do many different things. You know, some are in leadership, politics, some are in business, some are in the corporate world, and so on. And we keep seeing young people, you know, goof up, they trip and fall, and then everybody blames this generation, how corrupt it is, how lazy it is, and so on. And yeah, maybe there's a bit of that, but I remember the old adage, I forget its genesis. When you blame the current generation, you forget who raised them. Again, that's not to say that young people shouldn't take responsibility. You know, we've got to come of age and so on. But it's a question that keeps lingering in my mind, because if you are to look at people of a certain age that have done incredibly good things, it's because they had somebody that held their hand and showed them the way. Who is doing that for these young people? Well,
in a country like Uganda, the first person or the first system that would help mentor these young people would be our education system, which we already have challenges with, because we are having, for example, in China, we have technical schools in Uganda, and the government has promised us much more technical schools. But when you look at the technical colleges in China, we visited Beijing Polytechnical Institution in China, Beijing specifically. For them, their technical school is more advanced. They follow up on their students. They teach the current technology. This is why you see someone from China comes and constructs or sets up a security system in Uganda. And Uganda insists on one Chinese to stay behind to maintain this system. Now, in China, you cannot graduate actually today if a new technology comes out tomorrow before you graduate. You must first study that technology. So we're having a lot of structural challenges in this country. But the first person, I think, or the first system specifically that would help mentor these young people is our education system.
Who mentors you, to ask you a very direct question?
Well, that is not something I would wish to to disclose. Because
do you have a mentor anyway?
Yes, I have a mentor. But who mentors you, for example?
That's a good question.
Yes.
But you see, on a platform like this one, I'm the one who asks the questions, and then you get to answer.
No, if you tell me who mentors you, I'll tell you.
There's many people that I look to, so let me answer your question. Hopefully you can get to answer mine.
But you ask me a question, you can also answer.
That's okay, and I'm answering. I especially like to look at many international channels. I think there's many things that they are doing way better than we do. I look at a lady like Christiana Manpo on CNN. She has powerful interviewing skills, you know, and so every so often when I can, I'd like to watch her interviews and see how she does her thing, you know.
Yeah.
I see several anchors, and I'm thinking I want to do it as good as these guys do it.
Yeah, but
So
the question is,
back to you.
Is she mentoring you, or she's like a role model to you?
Those are actually pretty, you see.
Because it's a different thing. You want to be like her. That is like, because that's a profession. You want to be like her, but that doesn't mean she's mentoring you to become like her.
In a way, it's a lot more like me picking a leaf from them. So we may not have direct contact.
She's actually your role model, not your mentor.
You could say, again, role model might be, you know, too huge a thing, but there's bits and pieces that you get to pick from different people, even here locally. You know, for example, when I joined the media industry, the person that held my hand was the late Bale Francis. He literally walked with me. He literally mentored me. And I learned a lot from him, you know, and so along the way, I keep learning from different people. So, who mentors you? Or who do you look up to?
There are several people. It depends. Leadership, economically, because we
know you as youth MP. There's many other things that you probably do, but there you are.
Yes, but that is a very serious question. It's intrusive, by the way, and I wouldn't wish to disclose that on national.
You're not proud of your mentor, but anyway, but at least it's good that you say you have somebody that holds your hand.
Yes.
We are hoping they're leading you the right way, because many times when you see young people who have tripped, and then you look at the people they have been hanging around with, and you're not surprised. I'm sure you think of examples, not far around, of people that have eventually gotten their fingers burnt, and when you look around them, you realize this person has been hanging a lot around with this fellow who probably didn't have a very good record. But I'd like to think you're in very good hands.
Yes.
Are you coming back in 2021 or 2023?
Well, the people will decide. I'm not the one going to decide.
Oh, you sound like a typical quintessential politician. You sound like our president. He says, look, for me, I don't want, but my people want.
Yes,
you know,
the people will decide whether to come back.
You look like a focused young man. So it's good to have focus and not just go where the winds blow. If the people decide, will you ask them to decide? Because it begins with you asking them to decide.
No, if people are not interested, the people must tell you to come. You don't bring yourself.
There'll always be people. I mean, people are always telling people to stand. I get that from people. People will tell you, people as this my cousin, my friend, my people have told me to stand.
Yes,
so
but whether he wins or not, it doesn't mean that he did not have people, because he cannot get zero. I don't think someone can get zero. So the fact that he contests, there's a certain section of the community that has asked him to do so, and that are in his support. So if the people want to bring me back, they'll bring me back.
Where do you see yourself 10 years from today?
Well, 10 years from today is a very short time. Now we have 7 years in Parliament. So
yeah, that's why I said 10. Because if I said 5 years, you were going to say I would still be in Parliament. So
10 years,
I push it higher.
I see myself in Parliament.
So that's a yes to my earlier question. You're going to stand again? Anyway, wish you all the very best.
Thank you.
We hope that you grow up to become a good leader now that you have ambitions to keep being a leader.
Yes.
We hope that there will be no scandals to unfold. You can be sure if they exist, we shall dig them up.
And call me
I
back.
am assuring you on that. I would like to think that leaders need to live in fear of their citizens. Currently, we have it the other way around. The citizens live in fear of their leaders. But I would like that increasingly we get to see a situation where you leaders live in fear of us. Why? Because you are our servants. I know our president doesn't think he is a servant, which I find ridiculous to the highest degree. I would like to keep seeing a situation where, as a citizenry, we can hold you people accountable. That you know that when you goof up, we shall put your heads on the chopping block. And so I hope that you can keep living in fear of us. And that means doing things the right way. You know, because we, your bosses, are watching. And we need to keep you straight.
Okay, I think it's a culture. Culture is a very difficult thing to change. And it's not something you'll change overnight. But we will do our best.
I hope that's not an excuse, because this whole culture thing, we've always done things this way. If it's the wrong way, we can actually change it and throw it out the window and do things better.
For example, if they told, I know you staff have a lunch break. If they told you your lunch break is going to be shifted to 4 p.m.
Well, that's different, because even biologically,
it's a culture.
No, it's not a culture, that's biology.
No,
if you've had breakfast at 8, you can't eat at 4 and be productive.
Every workplace has its culture. For example, they'll say now you have to use the finger to log in to access this premise.
If it's going to make things better, why not?
Yes,
if it's going to up our security and make it better.
It will have challenges in the implementation. It's a culture. You can't just change it like that.
Anyway, Honorable Mwine Mpala, it's been a pleasure having you here.
Thank you.
Chit-chatting about everything from the challenges you're having with your SIM card issues, and then to talking issues of the young people, and to your leadership and the ambitions that you do have. We wish you all the very best. And
we would also wish to inform the young people that in the Gender Committee, we are currently handling the minimum wage bill. And we request them to be a little bit patient. It also has challenges. So it's not something we are rushing into. But we are hoping, because it's supposed to help the young people have meaningful employment. So we're hoping we can come to a conclusion and bypass the challenges it could cause, like cost-push inflation, and so many other related issues. Okay, there you are. That will do for today's edition of The Big Story and Morning at NTV for that matter. Thank you for joining us. My name is Joel Senyonyi. Good morning.